What's happening, guys? Happy Sunday. This is Adi, your host from Theros International, and I'm rolling solo today here to chat with you about what happened today. Huge win for Olympiacos, 2-1 away in Betty Stadi, a place we have not won in years. And we're going to talk about all of that, plus what is going on with the table and what this means for the rest of the campaign. But before we do that, ladies and gentlemen, please don't forget to like and subscribe if you're tuning in right now. A few dozen of you guys are already jumping in. Don't forget to vote. We have a man of the match poll like we do for every match. And don't forget, guys, every engagement helps us find more red and white fans. The space is growing across all platforms. Instagram, we're cruising to 13,000 followers. We're cruising to 9,000 on Facebook as well. So all over the place. TikTok is growing as well. And even Threads, we're on Threads these days, the other meta platform. So we're growing all over the place. We're less than 250 subscribers to 6,000 on YouTube. Crazy milestones that we're hitting. So if you like what you hear, subscribe if you don't already. And guys, if you're tuning in, please take a quick second and hit that like button. And if you want to support us, you can visit us on Patreon. We do a lot of great things. We actually offer 4 new tiers of content now. For $1 a month, you can join the WhatsApp chat where we get into some crazy discussions, the debate over what type of coffee you drink, the football we play, the players. It's all there 24/7. If you want to join the Patreon group, check us out. Patreon.com/Threros7 International. And you can also check out my best hits, my greatest hits. I am a musician these days. Right now, the hit of the Patreon channel is Fredo Espresso Gang. So if you want to hear the hit song, Fredo Espresso Gang, join us on Patreon. Patreon.com/307 International. I guarantee you guys will love it. Not all the songs turn out well when when you make them, but this one turned out to be pretty fun. So check it out. We also have a hot seat tier where patrons can join the show that's for $3 a month. You can join the show. We do watch alongs now. Plus, don't forget, we still have our content tier and merch tier. So you can join a lot of great stuff. Check it out. If you have any questions, feel free to DM us on any social platform or send us an email. You can send us an email at 307international@gmail.com or just go to the website and check us out there. So, boys and girls, a couple of things before we start talking about the match. Shout out to the basketball team who is slaying. Olympiacos BC is doing amazing things. Evan Fournier him and Sasha are doing incredible things every match. Shaq McKissick as well. The team is super fun to watch. First place in EuroLeague. We look like the best team in EuroLeague. Now I know I've told you guys I'm not a basketball guru. I know nothing about the sport. I just got into it because of Olympiacos. But for me, we look the best, and it's fantastic. Always in every match. You can never count the team out, and they play with a lot of heart. So great job for the basketball team. The U19s won against ATROMITOS yesterday. So a goal from Stavros Pneumonidis, exciting young winger, exciting young prospect out of the academy. That's his 10th goal contribution for the season. He's the second player on the U19s to now have 10 total goal contributions. That's goals and assists. The first was Yusuf Tai, who is actually the leader on the U19s when it comes to total goal contribution. So congratulations to Stavro and, of course, Yusuf before him. Both of them, they are doing very well. Now, let's chat about the game today. Today's game, guys, this team can never let us just have a peaceful, straightforward Sunday. And just when you think you are getting that, things turn on their head. We had put out a stat right before the game yesterday that Olympiacos has been, for most part of this season, a second-half team. Slow starts, in terms of overall performances, everything, passing, final third entries, shots, goals, XG, all of it. We even allow more goals in the first half than we do in the second half. But today the script flipped. We were great when the game started. We were great in the first half. 2 goals, some decent opportunities. We weren't quite as wasteful. Then the second half comes and we waste every opportunity that comes to us. Now, the goal, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. On ATROMITOS' first outing, their first shot ends up in a goal. It was the set piece where the corner kick where Karamanis, he goes up for the header, but he actually doesn't head the ball. Costinha is the one whose head gets on the ball, and he actually scores an own goal against us after taking an elbow to the head. No review from the referees, nothing. Now, maybe Costinha should have had a little bit better positioning on that. Absolutely. But I remember a certain Roman Yaremchuk barely touching a defender who was already falling, and we lost a goal because of that action. And not even to get a review here, the referee today, I believe Vasilis Fotias was his name, just displayed the absolute inconsistency and garbage that we see from referees. We'll get on to discuss the other absolute travesty that he had later in the match. But the match today, if we're taking a step back and we're looking at everything face value, we were the better team. They barely crossed into our final third. It took them over 30 minutes to get their second cross or their second entry into our final third. They went almost 30 minutes only entering our final third once. By the end of the first half, they entered our final third 9 times. We entered theirs 43 times. Should give you an idea of how things were. We were all over them. Then in the second half, after we conceded the goal in the second half, we were winning 2-1. We also had plenty of chances. Plenty of chances. We couldn't make anything out of it. Ayoub El Kaabi must have forgotten what offsides was today. Ayoub El Kaabi was offsides 3-4 times. 3-4 times today. This game never should have been this close. We should have had 3-4 goals. If people could stay on sides, if people could make decisions, if people could just keep the ball on target, this game wouldn't have even been close. And then we're not talking about either one of those things. But, unfortunately, in the second half, our lack of efficiency hurt us again. And this has been the story all season with this team. Lack of efficiency. A lot of you guys like to say, lack of creativity. A lot of you like to bring that up. And, on that first goal, we actually can say that Zoulakis did not do well really for that goal. Maybe he should have come off his line. He should have come out to challenge for the ball. That's a question there. But Zoulakis ends up making up for the whole thing with the huge penalty save. Penalty which never should have been called. If they had looked at all at VAR, Jose pulls his foot back, barely makes any contact with the defender. Jose should be doing a lot better there and should be smarter, but atrocious. And Zoulakis comes up huge and makes the save, secures us the 3 points. We're +4. Panathinaikos just beat AEK today. And so instead of going +5, like if they had gotten a draw, we get just a +4 lead. And PAOK ended up drawing against Aris, and they are 9 points behind in the title race. So this can set us up for something huge, which we're going to talk about later in terms of the title race and a decision that Coach Mendilibar is going to have to make with regards to some of our future matches, because we do have a huge choice in terms of priority, what we should be doing. Going back to the match, it's what we saw with the lineup today. We had Biancon, the center backs. You had Biancon, Retsos, you had Costinha, and Pirola was playing on that left side. The midfield pairing that did not do so well last time we saw it was Danny Garcia and Santiago Jose. They played quite well today. They did decently well. Jose up until the mistake that he made, and he had a pretty bad giveaway before that too. Overall was all right. Rodinei was on the right side. He was on that right wing. Christopher Veld was on the left side. I thought both of them had pretty good games today. Rodinei, in particular, I thought had a fantastic game. He ended up with an assist. Probably could have done more. Ayoub El Kaabi ends up getting a goal, the second goal for us. But El Kabi, for me, despite scoring a goal today, his 21st goal contribution, by the way, guys, 17 goals, 17 goals and 4 assists. Outside of the goal, I didn't think El Kabi had a great game. You know, El Kabi's been in this rut. Look, he's still scoring goals. Maybe he's not scoring them like he was earlier in the season, but he is scoring goals for us. But today, you know, the amount of offsides that he had, the amount of goals that he cost us was huge. It was huge. But you get a goal from him, that's what you want out of him. But you know, there's a lot of people that have been all over social media, has been DMing us their concerns about Ayoub El Kabi. And it's kind of weird to talk about that when you have a player that has already, you know, 21 goal contributions, 17 goals. And he's what, 28 matches in? I think he had 50 total last season. And he scored 30, he had 36 total goal contributions. And anyway, so the match, all in all, like if you get the horrible free kick situation, if you forget the garbage penalty situation, we were dominant the entire game. I mean, ATROMITOS barely crossed into our final third, especially if we're looking at over the course of both halves. We had the lion's share of possession. We had the lion's share of opportunities. I mean, I think almost 20 shots we had today. So many great opportunities. And the only big scoring chance that I can think of off the top of my head that Atromitos will have when the data is available is the penalty. That's it. You know, they didn't create anything else. They did have a handful of scary opportunities where they got forward, and there's one where I can think of the Athanasiou cross where our defense gets totally sucked in, and they had a player that was out wide. He somehow didn't get a shot off. Situations like that, but I mean, by and large, we were I mean, we were the better team today. The thing that happened was the exact same thing that happened all season long so far. In the second half, our finishing was horrible. Our decision making was terrible. And that's it. I mean, I continue to see complaints about guys like Christopher Velde. Again, he had a fine game today. No, I didn't see any other issue with him. But we have, you know, so many shots. We can barely keep things on target. Bad decision making. And yet people complain about creativity. I'm sorry, if we can't do anything with the volume of opportunities that we have, the issue isn't just creativity. Not that creativity can't help fix the problem, but we have a severe lack of efficiency here. And it's the same thing that we've seen. I mean, the one thing that we can kind of hold our hat on is that the team is fighting. The team is a unit. They fight together, and I'm feeling that more in the more recent games than I was earlier in the season. So those are very good signs for us. Very, very good signs to see here. A couple of comments coming in that I want to bring up and kind of talk about here, because there's a couple of takes. Achilleas Beos and I believe Aris Galamatis, Comrade Aries, also brought up the same thing. Cholakis was terrible until the penalty. Yeah, Cholakis had, especially in the first half, he definitely was not at his best. He redeemed himself with the penalty save. Now, I'm gonna say this because I mean, and don't get me wrong, guys. Like I love Cholakis. Cholakis is a great goalkeeper for us. His positioning sometimes on set pieces is very questionable. And also, I went back and I looked at all the goals he's conceded. When teams get opportunities against us and they have a shot that's from mid-range, like not beyond the 18 or the penalty area, but like right at the top of the box, kind of that area. For some reason, Cholakis has an issue with those types of shots. You're taking a shot from the top, get a little bit of power on it. He's never able to position or get himself it seems in a position where he can save it, or he has difficulty saving. I don't know if it's like a depth judgment. You get the ball close to him and it requires his reflexes to stop it, he stops it. Penalties, he can stop. It's just it's two situations that he still seems to struggle in so far. The set pieces where I think he's afraid to move off the line. And then the second part is like when we get these shots like right in and around like the line of the penalty box. Just something that I've noticed. Uh Comrade Aries brings up here Tolakis is also 24. You bring up Retsos as well, but Tolakis is only 24, so I expect that he'll improve on these things. It's just two areas of weakness I've noticed with Tolakis, but he improves on that. He's going to be a top goalkeeper in Europe. He's already going that way. There was a really cool table, a ranking of the best U23 goalkeepers in Europe, who are also the most ready for the top 5 leagues, a team in the top 5 leagues. And Tsolakis is number 1. He's considered the best U23 goalkeeper in Europe and the most ready for to be in a team in a top 5 league. That tells you everything about Kostas Tsolakis. Thank you, Akilea. Yes, you're right. Yes, he is 22. That's why he's U23. I don't know why I said 24 before. Oh, because I saw Comrade Aries post it. That's why. Yes, but he is 22. So he has plenty of time. Tsolakis has plenty of time ahead of him to work on these things. These are just some things that I noticed when I was going through looking at some of the goals that he's conceded. Looking at some other players, I thought Panos Retsos had a great game today. I thought Retsos also, the last time he played, also did very well too. Biancon again. Biancon, just the passion this guy brings is he fights for everything. I'm loving his crosses. I'm loving his long balls too. Even a guy like Biancon, who's a little bit older, Biancon has shown some improvement since he first arrived at Olympiacos. So he also had I thought was a great game today. On the left back side of things, I don't want to sound like I'm being negative towards Pirola, but Athanasiou for ATROMITOS, the player that we have signed supposedly from ATROMITOS and is supposed to be coming in the summer, maybe he comes in the winter, I don't know. Athanasiou is better than any left back that we have on the squad right now. The crossing that you get from him is better than any of our left backs on loan or otherwise. I mean, that is a player. I hate some of the names I'm hearing. That left back from Boa Vista, forget about it. I was not impressed. Instead of going and getting this, I think Athanasiou, even if he's not the starter and Ortega continues to be the starter, a player like that is a different profile that can still work within the system. Unlike this guy, Bruno Onyemachi, who is a different profile, but I have no idea how he would fit in the system. Athanasiou, I can see how he fits in the system. He is the different profile I would prefer on the left back that fits in the system. So in that left back situation, I mean, you just saw plain and clear. I mean, Athanasiou is clear of our left backs. You're relying on Pirola, who's he's a center back, defensive oriented, and you're relying on him to just give you stability out there because you don't have a fullback that's going to give you anything consistently, and that won't leave you exposed as well. We're getting pretty thin, this squad is, guys. Not to go off on a tangent about Europe, but we are getting kind of thin here. And we need to get a left back. I mean, we've lost players have gone out, but we haven't brought anybody in yet. Willian's gone, so we lost a winger option. Doi is on loan to Rio Ave. Even if we wanted to bring up, another center back option within the academy, Isidros Koutsivis is at Volos on loan for the rest of the season. So now we don't even have the guy that we would have liked normally to promote within the system to replace Andreas Doi. You guys may have seen that Adrutos is going to Offi. That's a player that has suited up for us this season. So that, take that as a joke or not, he's out. The situation here is thin. It's thin. And you look at the match today and you see maybe you could have had an opportunity here. And I know some people would disagree with me on this, but you had an opportunity here also to use some depth from the academy, guys like Papacanelos. Maybe not Bakulas, but Papacanelos really. You have so little depth on the wings. Masuras doesn't get used. We have Yaremchuk, who's half used as a forward. Kosulas is getting run. El Kabi's getting run into the ground. Oh, we don't have that many options. We don't. We don't have that many options here to think about. And I I there's all this talk about, oh, we want to bring this big bam signing we want to bring in a right winger. We want to bring in a right-footed left winger that also can be a playmaker. We need a left back too, but the situation with our finances is not good. I mean, Andre Horta, we're here. We're back in another sequence with him again. The situation with FFP is not great. That's why these deals aren't getting done. Betancourt is a player that we just brought in to unseat Yaremchuk, but maybe he's not going to unseat Yaremchuk. We were making fun of this the other day. The situation with the signings is not good. You get through this ATROMITOS game, and we have Porto. We have Porto coming up next week, and then we have the derby with Panathinaikos next weekend. And it's a thin squad. Happy that everybody played well today. We're finding consistency. Mendilibar has not been fiddling with the defensive line unnecessarily. Today, Biancon had an injury or he left the field with an injury, which is why he subbed on David Carmo. Gelson Martins is another one. We didn't have him today. That was more preventative though. He felt tightness and some discomfort. So he was on his own program. He felt much better, but they wanted to be safe. And look what we had on the bench today for this game. Your only natural winger was Christopher Velde. That was your only winger today. Rodinei was playing winger. I don't know what that says, that we actually, we did pretty well, against the side that we knew was going to be difficult in a place in Peristeri where I told you guys earlier we haven't won in almost 4 years. But if we're looking at what happened to this game, and we're looking at what's coming up, we have some decisions we have to make. This squad is thin. We're +4. We play Panathinaikos in the league now next weekend. We have a chance to really, really put distance in the league. So now you have a choice to make. Porto's coming up this week. We have a very high probability, even if we don't win a single game, even if we don't beat Karabag, if we lose both games, 86% chance probability that we still make the knockouts, but we would be a lower seed, most likely. Panathinaikos, in the league, we beat them, we go +7. Again, depending on what happens with Ike. So what are your options here? What do you prioritize? Do you go into the Porto game looking to win so that you can make sure you're securing knockout ball? Or do you maybe save some starters? Don't play everybody against Porto. Since they're a bigger side anyway, you're not necessarily guaranteed to get anything out of that either way. Do you save your starters for the game against Panathinaikos? That is the real question. Because right now, the league, it's a 100-year anniversary. Forget everything else. Winning the league is mandatory. getting that +7, having a buffer against the rest of the team going into the playoffs is massive. And given the squad depth, I don't know how many choices we actually have. You know, Gelson Martin's here. We have the injury scare. Biancon came off with something. We have better depth in the back, but we don't have the depth right now to support this. So we have to make a very hard choice here. Are we going to go all out against Porto? Or are we going to decide that it's more important for us to beat Panathinaikos? That's going to be the questions. That's going to be the question here. Now, a lot of you I can see already have some opinions. You know, there's some people here saying that we just need to forget the Porto game. GS Porto game, screw the Porto game. Vazelo is the priority. Camarade's, well, to be honest, crushing Vazela at this point is the priority after Tsolakis saved that penalty. So it's maybe you start Yaremchuk. Normally, I would always say that Europe has to be a priority. But given the context of what we've gone through the last couple of years, I don't necessarily think that we can afford to ignore the league. We don't want to let anybody back into this. Panathinaikos has been struggling. After they had their 5 matches in 7 with a man advantage to red cards, they had a draw, a loss, and then now they have, you know, they won today barely against Ike, and Ike had all the possession. Ike was doing better. Ike was unfortunate not to have a penalty given to them for Dragovski. I have no idea how that was missed. But Panathinaikos, their form is all over the place. We are the better side. We saw that. We are the better side than Panathinaikos. And the league is our ticket this year. We win the league, we get a Champions League qualification spot, but we also need to win the league because right now we're the ones that get the immediate seed into the group stage, the wild card seed. So we have to keep that up as well. But then you look at the other hand. In order for us to reserve that seed, we have to do well in Europe. So we can't really be affording to drop points because the teams underneath of us for that wild card seed directly into the group stage, they're not far behind. They get one result, we lose that spot. There's a lot of things that Olympiacos has to think about for this. It's not an easy decision. But when I'm looking at it and I'm seeing where we are here, the way I'm thinking is very similar to what GS has here in this comment. We can't lose 3 years in a row in the league. No way. Pρωτάθλημα, the title, Kipelo, the Greek Cup, Evropi, that's the sequence. I don't know if I would put Kipelo before Evropi, to be honest with you. For me, the Greek Cup is like the last thing. I barely give 2 shits about the Greek Cup. I'm going to be completely honest with you. For me, Europe is everything. Europe is everything for me. That's it. Before the Kipelo, I mean. So like if we're not focusing on the title, which is most important for us to secure Champions League, then it's Europe. The Kipelo will never be something. The Kipelo will never be something for me that is super important. I'd like to win the double. It's always fantastic, but that's the one I prioritize the least. So there's your priority. Without the league, you don't get Champions League, or at least the guarantee of some type of qualification for Champions League. And it's our 100-year anniversary. So as much as the club might want to be super competitive in Europe, my thoughts right now are you have to secure this. You have to do everything you can against Panathinaikos. Now, would it suck if we lose against Porto, we play our starters, and then lose against Panathinaikos? Yeah, that would suck. But right now we have to make a hard decision. We don't have the depth to be able to support this. Unless we're going to materialize a winger and a left back this week, before the game against Panathinaikos or before Europe. I don't know. I don't think we will. So these are the decisions we have to make. And then we also have to decide. I brought this up earlier kind of in passing as we were talking about, is it time to just promote Papacanelos and Bakulas? Leave Bakulas out of it where the midfield is deep. Papacanelos. Let's just talk about Papacanelos. Are we in a position where we can afford not to have more depth? We don't have a lot of money to make transfers. And I'm sick of the dime store, dollar store transfers we make in the forward area. They're not good enough. And I would rather not waste time with them if they're not good enough. But at the same time, we need help. We need somebody there that's going to run, that has different ideas. Whether you think Papacanelos is ready or not is immaterial. Papacanelos was part of the same U19 side that won the Youth League. He was one of the 5 players that we identified as kind of like the star prospects that were most ready for the first team when they trained over the summer. We do not have Willian anymore. That's one person out of the field. Gelson Martins gets hurt relatively frequently. Christopher Velde, most of you don't like him anyway. Masuras is not counted on by Jose Luis Mendilibar. We have Babis Kostulas playing on the wing. We are using one of our right backs to play on the wing in many of these situations and losing depth there. As far as I'm concerned, we do not have any reason that we should not be including Papacanelos in the first team. And I don't want to hear nonsense. Oh, we need Papacanelos for the U19s. I don't give a shit about the U19 winning games. The U19 isn't there. Like we're not there because we want titles from the U19. But it's there for development. We shouldn't be holding players back just so we can think we can try to win the Youth League again. No, that's not the purpose of this U19. We're here to develop. If the kids are ready, they're ready. Right now, Papacanelos and Bakulas, I don't know how many of you have watched the games. I've watched them. They're not getting anything out of those games. Papacanelos in particular is on a different tier than half the competition he faces, even in Europe. He's dribbling all over the place, doing whatever he wants. He gets nothing out of the U19, especially not when he thinks he's the best person on the field. He needs a little more humility. He needs to get stronger. He needs to work a little bit harder. And he's not going to get that down there. He's going to get that in the first team, where he'll be punished for making bad decisions on the field, where he'll learn that he needs to be more physical, where he'll learn that he needs to do a little bit more. And I don't think we can afford not to do it. We don't have the money to bring in good, solid wingers right now. What we should be doing, and I've said this on socials, figure out how to get Athanasiou here faster in the winter. Whether that's giving ATROMITOS Apostolopoulos and maybe somebody else or a little bit of money, I don't care. You need to get Athanasiou here faster. He's a cheaper option and he's Greek. So that helps us for registry reasons. Second thing, you promote Papacanelos. That gives you one additional winger. Third, every spare dime you have, however much that is, you go get the best quality winger that you can find. Period. Those are your 3 players. Maybe you bring up Bakulas too. Something else happens. That's what I would do, knowing how string thin our budget is right now with this respect, with the FFP issues. We don't have another choice. So, I've had people say, oh, Papacanelos isn't ready. There's a reason Mendilibar hasn't used them. And I'm going to be honest with you. I find that to be, maybe they see other things in training. I'm telling you that whole thing's horseshit. I said the same thing about Muzakitis and Kostula. So did my co-host Costa Lavoyanis. And everyone told us that they weren't ready. Well, look at that. I'm not saying I think Papacanelos is going to be a day in, day out starter, but I think that we need the depth, period. That's it. Otherwise, we're not going to make it through 3 competitions. There's no way, especially not with Gelson getting hurt all the time and Christopher Velde, who everybody likes to scapegoat for everything. It's just not happening. It's just not happening. I see some lineups coming in. People are talking about. People are talking. Yeah, everyone seems to be kind of the same mind here. Most of the audience seems to agree that the title, the Greek league, winning the title is first and foremost. So it sounds like most of you would agree that if anything, we partially sandbag the match against Porto and we keep everybody healthy for the derby next weekend. So that seems to be a little bit of what kind of everybody's talking about here. We got some more comments also coming in. With the game, George Gardilis. This match should have been at least 4-0. We made it into a derby in the last 15 minutes. Really concerning this year facing the small teams, not being able to close out games more easily. Look, right now, at least we're closing them out, unlike the first half of the season where some of these were ending up in draws. So take your pick. So, but at the same time, I think with what we're seeing, we need one or two other players. We need two other creative players. Mendilibar's system's not changing. It's not. Don't expect it to. So the only thing that will change the aspect of what you want in the offense is to bring in two players and hope to God that their skills can offer you something different, because that's the only way you're going to see anything different. Maybe he promotes Papa Canelos. Maybe Papa Canelos can do something. Nothing's changing. Nothing's changing in that respect. The team is playing with more unity, which I think is important, but I don't necessarily think the grand scheme is going to be. Nothing else is really going to be changing. People are dropping a couple of starting 11s for the match against Porto here, and I wouldn't necessarily be against this. I wouldn't be starting Paschalakis, though. I'd be starting, Tsolakis. I wouldn't necessarily be against this, to be honest. But again, I wouldn't want to run Rodinei into the ground. Like you have Rodinei Costinha now playing full 90s. They played today against ATROMITOS. You're going to play against Porto, and then you're not going to play them against Panathinaikos. I wouldn't mind playing Veld. I think Veld. I personally think Veld has been looking better. I know it seems like the vast majority of Greek social media disagrees with me, but I think Veld was one of our better players on the pitch today. He had a lot of had I think 5 shots today. He had a couple of great balls. I saw SofaScore said he had 2 big scoring chances. One that he created, one that was like a key pass, and then one that was his own that he missed. So this issue with Veld here, there's some divisive opinions, and I think because of the disappointment in the first half of the season, this guy was flying in preseason for us. We expected so much more, and then during the season, he wasn't producing as much as we expected he would because of what he did for us in the preseason, and it's made him a scapegoat for so many people. Not to mention, he's had. Again, in my opinion, he's created plenty of opportunities for his teammates, which they just haven't scored. Guys like Chiquinho and El Kabi. The guy's got 6 goal contributions this year, which up until recently, he was, I think, the 4th highest goal contributor in the team. He might still be behind El Kabi, Rodinei, who has his 10th goal contribution today as well, and Chiquinho. So he's a player that I think we need to have some patience with, because he's looking better and better. Is he doing everything Mendilibar wants still? No, he's not. And he's had disappointing games. He recently had a disappointing match. But if we're talking about his last 4 or 5 games, on his last 4 or 5 games, all but one of them have been pretty good, all things considered. Anyway, it is what it is. Here's one. Shiel Cabomalis, start Masuras against Porto instead of Rodinei on the wing. Wouldn't necessarily be a bad shot. Actually, the context would probably be great too. The way that, but Mendilibar's never starting Masuras ever. Masuras has played less than 500 minutes this season. Ever since Mendilibar came, Masuras' role has been drastically reduced. That type of player, his mold, especially out on the wing, is not what's used by Mendilibar at all. His work rate is great. I still don't get why he can't play behind the striker in that role, especially on the press. But I don't. It's not going to happen. Yet another reason why we need to bring some reinforcements in. All right, guys, we're coming in about 40 minutes in here right now. I'm rolling solo here. So drop some comments and I'll answer some questions if you guys have any other questions. The situation today, like we talked about, pretty straightforward. Olympiacos was by far the better team today. ATROMITOS scored on their first shot, which every team seems to be able to do with us. They seem to be able to score off of 1 or 2 opportunities while we need 20 to score 1. So it's that situation, but we were the better team. We stifled them. The press was working outside of, one problem with a set piece and then, of course, a penalty. But while you guys are tuning in, 40 minutes in for the almost 200 of you that are in here right now, don't forget, hit that like button. If you're tuning in for the first time, please subscribe, join the community, check out Patreon, and see what else we have to offer you and help us continue to grow this red white community. We're growing all over the place. Now, guys, there's a lot of questions coming in here, so I'm going to just flip to your questions for the last 5-10 minutes. But before we do, we will finish out the chat directly about the match and things about the match with our man of the match coach's grade. And I think my man of the match, Rodinei, I think Rodinei would have been my man of the match. But because of what happened, because of us falling behind, and you know what, maybe Tsolakis is partly the reason why we were in that position in the first place. You could make that argument. Some of you that think that he or some of you that agreed with me that his positioning wasn't bad, maybe you could say that he was also at fault for that goal. I'm actually going to give the man of the match to Tsolakis because he literally saved us from dropping 2 points on a situation that whether we agree or not with the ref's decision on Heze, the penalty was given. Tsolakis saved the penalty, so he saved our 3 points. So, I'm going to give it to him for with a strong shot, of course, for Rodinei. I think Rodinei had a great game today. He progressed the ball forward. He got inside. He ended up getting some shots off. Plus, he had the assist. Costinha had an assist. Costinha had issues today. And actually, the last game he played, he didn't look great at all. But his defensively, he's a way, way more secure option for us than Rodinei. And he has probably the most accurate cross of any of the players that are on this team right now. So if we're playing these deeper block teams, we need a guy like him who has a great cross to find heads. So those are going to be my two shouts. I also mentioned I thought Christopher Velde had a pretty good game today too. So coach's grade today. I was okay with the lineup. I'm guessing Ortega had maybe he was trying to rest him a little bit. That's why Pirolo was playing out wide. But I thought we were the dominant force and we scored 2 goals. We were pretty efficient and their goal came off of, a ridiculous situation where Costinha takes an elbow to the face. Costinha is actually the one that scored the own goal, not the other player. So crazy situation. And I think the lineup was good, but then I thought the changes should have been done faster. I really think that when Veld came out, things started to collapse because Veld was putting pressure on the team. So I don't know if I necessarily agreed that Veld should come out at 78 minutes. But he took out Garcia for Muzakitis. He put in Yaremchuk for like a minute or two. Man, with El Kaabi doing what El Kaabi was doing, I would have taken him out faster. I really wish that maybe Yaremchuk came in a little bit sooner because El Kaabi was kind of all over the place. Biancon was the injury. He brought in Chiquinho. Maybe you could have said bring in a guy like Masuras. I don't know. I wasn't so upset with that specific change in particular. So, I guess as far as coaching grade goes, he did get the win. It was a little bit stressful, and we didn't make our first changes until the 77th minute. I'll just give him a B. I'm going to give him a B for this. I wanted changes a little bit faster, especially for players that I thought were being a little bit more damaging for us in certain respects with respect to our momentum. So I'm just going to stick with a B, and it's one of those things. I'll just give him a B. I don't you can't when you win the game, you were dominant early and for so long. And if we're looking at the underlying stats, we were extremely dominant. So I can't I'm not giving him I just think that better things could have been done. That's all with respect to the substitutions, at least in terms of timing, camaraderies. Maybe we need to bring in an eye doctor with so many offsides, and then what you guys say about Zolakis. So let me see what the audience said. 84% of the audience vote went for Zolakis. 7% for Retsos, 5% for Rodinei. Retsos with the header goal, and then Costinha. So look, man, it's all because of the penalty save. That's it. I mean, I always tell people I give my man of the match to whoever I thought put us in the best position to win this to win this game. That was a penalty. You are losing 2 points. You are losing 2 points with the penalty. So there you go. Cholakis becomes the hero of the night, whether you like it or not. That's it. You could think that he had a really terrible, that he's the cause for the first goal that comes in, but he saved the penalty. And that is the headline, whether you like it or not. It is what it is. So I saw a couple of questions coming in. Now that we're going to be moving on for the match, you guys have me for a few more minutes, and then I'm going to get off here. My Ravens are playing today. For those of you that follow the NFL, it is we're in the divisional playoffs here. The Ravens are playing against the Kansas City Chiefs. Or sorry, the Ravens are not playing against the Chiefs. They're playing against the Bills. I'm thinking boys on my Baltimore boys. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just Google NFL and you'll see what's going on. Anyway, American football, not European football, but that's besides the point. A couple of comments going on here, and we'll talk about a couple of things before I go ahead and let you guys go. There were some transfer questions here that people had, so I'll bring these up when I find them, at least, because somebody was asking Almiron. Yeah, this was a joke. I thought you were asking about Almiron. There's nothing happening there, guys. There's nothing happening with Anthony. It actually even looks like Anthony could end up at I think Real Betis. It's where were the transfers? Some people had them. I gotta find them first, but we can talk about that anyway. Once again, they were saying on the radio that we should have some developments this week with regards to a transfer, but then they also said last week that this past week we would have some developments with the transfer, and nothing came about. The question's already coming. You guys asked me, you've been asking me on social media, are we going to get anyone in this transfer window? And let me tell you what I've been hearing, and let me tell you what my thoughts are on this situation. You guys know I follow finances. Now, we don't know the finances of the club like to the letter, but we're pretty good at guessing, and we're pretty good at estimating. So I don't think, first of all, with respect to our FFP situation, we're not going to be forking out any major amounts. I would be surprised if we do anything besides loan players. I would be surprised. I don't see us selling anybody. We don't know exactly how much money was saved from Willian. The contract, it was a mutual termination. Contract was cut, but we don't know how much money was paid out for his contract. Best case scenario, it was that amicable. He took nothing. Andre Horta has been a name that keeps popping up, but the information is completely different from what's coming from the Portuguese versus what's coming from Greece. In Greece, they keep saying that Braga stopped the transfer twice. Once because they wanted more money, and then the second time was because Carvajal, the our previous coach before Mendilibar, wanted him to stay there. Well, he's gone, and Andre Horta wasn't playing that much, and then there was the big write up that came out of Greece from Nikos Kotsis about Andre Horta. And then a big article comes out in Ohogo right after that says, "Oh no, he's so important to the team, and we need him. The new manager in Braga is relying on him." We really don't know what to expect there. But what's clear is Braga wants more money than we're willing to offer, and that's it. Whatever's going to happen, guys, it will come down to the deadline. Do you guys remember what happened last year? We signed 2 players on the deadline. Vezo and Joven Cabral came at the deadline. Garbage. We will end up getting players. It'll probably be the last week of the window, which is unfortunate. And then the worst part is, whatever players that we bring in, we can't even use them in Europe until the knockout stages. So we still have to get through this first. I saw somebody ask about Isaksson, but Isaksson isn't happening. Isaksson isn't happening. They had said that our offer came in way too low, so it's never happening. So Isaksson is not happening. He laughs. Oh, still waiting for the Cabral deep dive. I don't think I actually ever did the deep dive for Costilla either. I can't remember. I remember doing a lot of talking about him. I remember doing data about him, but I don't think I ever actually did a scouting report for him, because we got him, but he didn't arrive in the summer, and I was supposed to wait. I don't remember. But yeah, but anyway, going back to Isaksson, the amount, what we were not even close to meeting what they wanted. So I don't even know why that rumor came out in the first place. But the transfer situation right now is, we are trying to get rid of, it looks like, Apostolopoulos if we're going to bring the other left back in. Don't get your hopes up. And also, don't expect a lot of deals to be done until before the end of the deadline. It's probably the best deals come right at the end. That's usually what ends up happening. So that's what's going to happen. And the best that we can hope for is that we get profiles that are different from what's there, so we have some different looks. Creative profiles that also can help us. Creative profiles maybe that are willing to ignore Mendilibar here and there and use their creativity to do something for us, to break down a defense. That's kind of what we need. So we're going to have to wait and see what happens and hope for the best. But, if you're expecting deals to get done, I was never expecting a deal to get done early. January 16th was the deadline for reporting for outstanding debt obligations or deferred debt. So that means the club had to not only make sure everything was paid, but they had to report all of the deferred debt from August and October that they had brought into, that they were bringing close to the new year. So that's another reason why stuff wasn't moving, because the financial situation was also unclear. So now that that's done, they'll have a much clearer idea of what's settled, what's not settled, and what they will have money to do. And me personally, I don't see us being able to do much unless we sell somebody. And also wait for that third loan from Nottingham Forest. We've only loaned 2 players this season from Nottingham Forest, Carmo and Stamenic. So it's we still have one more we can get. So expect one more from them for maybe a semi-high profile player if they're footing the bill and we're loaning it. Ramon Sosa, was just asked in the chat that he hasn't been getting as much time. That was a name that we heard was a possibility. But remember, the player has to want to do it too. Not everybody wants to come from Premier League to Olympiacos. There was Jota Silva came up over the summer, and that was never, the agent was probably never going to let that happen. So we'll see. A lot's going to depend on what comes at the end of the window. So, but I already told you guys, regardless, I think the best thing for us is to focus our resources and whatever funds we have left on one really good player. And then we do the moves that we bring Athanasiou earlier, cheaper, and we promote Papa Canelos. That to me is the easiest way to do it. I wish it could have been different. I wish we could have been able to get maybe a bigger player, but I think this is the situation you're in. We're lucky that we have the golden generation that we have. Otherwise, it wouldn't be a possibility. Anyway, guys, a lot of fun stuff coming up. We're going to arrange a pre-match. We're going to do some pre-match stuff, bring in a Portuguese football expert to talk about Porto. We'll see what happens. We all should be pretty happy as Olympiacos fans right now. The new year has been pretty good for us. 3 wins and a draw. Even in December. Outside of last year, outside of maybe the disappointing draws that we had in Europe, the team is coming together a little bit better. We're starting to be a little bit better in the offensive side of things, a little bit more efficient, at least a little bit more than we were before that. We're first place. We're +4. Huge opportunity next weekend. This league can't be won by 20 points anymore. That doesn't happen. So to be right now, 4 points, huge important derby coming up, and a chance to separate us further, the team is in a pretty good position. The team is doing better than some of you at least thought it was. So this team just needs little things to tweak so that it can really get to that next level. That's it. We don't need overhauls, just tweak. So maybe it's a blessing in disguise that we're not able to bring and spend as much money, because maybe we would overdo it and ruin it. So we'll see what happens. And, we'll be, of course, data will be going out. Whatever news comes out, we'll be sharing it with you. Again, guys, can check out Patreon. The link is in the description. Check out Patreon if you want to join us. Join the WhatsApp group and check out all the other content that we have for you. I'm Adi. This is Thedos International, and we will see you guys during the week. Have a great rest of your Sunday.